Okay, picture this. It's June 18th, 2026. We're high up in the monsoon-drenched peaks near Pune, India, and a 26-year-old man named Ketan Agarwal plummets 350 feet to his death. He fell from this sheer scorpion tail-like cliff face, the Vinchukhata Wall, right at the historic Logagard Fort. Now, at first glance, it looked exactly like a tragic, but honestly pretty common trekking accident. You know, a young guy, captivated by the scenic beauty, simply loses his footing. But, as we're going to see in this explainer, the physical world, it's really only telling us half the story.
To really grasp the immense gravity of this case, just listen to this quote. These are the words of the mother of the primary suspect, 22-year-old Shia Goyal. Shia was Ketan's fiancée and the only actual witness to his fall. The emotional stakes here are absolutely staggering. We're talking about two very wealthy, prominent business families who are completely torn apart by what went down on that mountain.
And that right there brings us to the core of our explainer today. Because while that remote cliffside provided literally the perfect physical setting for a fatal accident, it was the invisible digital world that ultimately exposed the truth. So let's dive into exactly how modern forensics turned a tragic slip and fall into an absolute masterclass in digital deconstruction. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll realize your own digital footprint is way larger than you think.
Section 1. The Logagard Fort Tragedy. A fatal drop. So, a bit of background. Ketan and Saya were wealthy heirs, and they were all set for a massive, lavish arranged marriage. Ketan was this educated, obedient son who had just joined his family's super successful real estate business. Saya's family, on the other hand, was big in the dry fruits and spice business. Their families were so all in on this union that they had already booked a 17 crore palace in Udaipur for a November wedding. Just let that price tag sink in for a second. But instead of a fairy tale wedding, a cliffside push on a fort 3,300 feet above sea level left Ketan dead. In the immediate aftermath, Saya played her part flawlessly. She screamed for help, she alerted local authorities who recovered Ketan's body, and the police initially just filed a standard accidental death report. And Saya? The very next day, which actually happened to be her own birthday, she was posting heartbroken Instagram stories. She sat right there with Ketan's devastated parents, openly mourning the loss of her supposed true love.
Section 2. A trail of near misses. The illusion cracks.
Well, Ketan was an expert trekker. Because of that, his father, Vishal, absolutely refused to believe this was just a simple slip. An experienced climber doesn't just casually fall off a cliff taking photos, right? His suspicions sparked an investigation, and it exposed this chilling timeline of pure premeditation. Check this out. May 31st, Sia takes Ketan to the fort for the first time. We know now this was a scouting trip. Then, June 6th, the couple is supposed to fly to Bali for a pre-wedding photo shoot. But mysteriously, right at the airport, only Ketan's passport goes missing from a bag that also had cash and credit cards in it. That totally sabotaged the trip and kept him in India. Then, June 14th, she lures him back to the fort and actually pushes him. But miraculously, Ketan grabs a tree branch and survives. Sia instantly spins this fabricated story, claiming she just panicked and pushed him to save him from a venomous snake, and Ketan, being entirely trusting, bought it. 4 days later, on June 18th, she made sure he didn't survive.
Section 3. The call detail records. Data doesn't lie.
Armed with his father's totally valid suspicions, the police officially shifted gears from an accidental death to a suspicious one. And where did they go first? Straight to Saya's data. This brings us to the absolute core forensic evidence of this whole case, the call detail record, or CDR. Now, this isn't about wiretapping or listening in on actual calls. It's all about the metadata. A CDR logs exactly when a call was made, who it went to, which specific cell tower routed it, and precisely how long it lasted. It is cold, hard, unalterable data. And the second investigators pulled Saya's CDRs, the whole illusion of the grieving fiancé shattered into a million pieces.
Get this. Since the exact time of her engagement to Ketan in February, Saya had exchanged over 2,000 calls with a single specific phone number. 2,000! And this number didn't belong to some relative or a best friend. It belonged to a 22-year-old named Chetan Chowdhury. He was a guy from another business family she'd met at a Diwali party back in 2025. Yep, he was her secret boyfriend.
To put that wild number into perspective, those 2,000 calls amounted to over 230 hours of talk time. 230 hours. So while Khitan was out here showering her with expensive gifts, renting convertible cars completely filled with flowers, and literally planning a luxury 40-room birthday bash for her in Mahabaleshwar, Sia was spending practically every waking hour on the phone with Chetan. They were plotting exactly how to get out of the arranged marriage without damaging her family's precious social standing.
So while she's playing the devastated, heartbroken widow online, her digital reality was completely different. Police managed to pull CCTV footage from a cafe that showed Saya and Chetan hanging out together just 24 hours before the murder. In the video, they're laughing, they're talking, and they are literally finalizing the very plan that would end Chetan's life the very next day.
Section 4. Erasing the digital footprint. Chetan's stealth tactics.
Now, these two accomplices, they actually knew technology could expose them, especially since Chetan was physically at the fort that day stalking the couple to help execute the plot. So, to become a digital ghost, Chetan took some really calculated steps. First off, he left his actual personal phone behind with his employees, meaning his location couldn't be traced to the mountain. Second, he brought a burner, an untraceable phone that belonged to an employee. Third, despite it being sweltering heat, the guy wore a heavy hoodie to obscure his face from the fort's security cameras. And finally, and this is wild, knowing that buying an entry ticket would leave a digital log, he just lied to the security guards. He claimed he was just a local going up to exercise, which allowed him to completely bypass the digital ticketing system.
They really thought they had thought of everything. But here's the thing about digital footprints. Sometimes the absence of data is, in itself, data. Investigators cross-referenced Chetan's known timeline with the activity on his personal phone. The fact that his primary phone was completely inactive and sitting totally stationary while he was allegedly out conducting his daily business, that proved a deliberate phone swap had occurred. This didn't just place him at the scene. It legally proved premeditation. It showed the court that they fully understood the concept of digital footprints and painstakingly planned to circumvent them.
Section 5. Data exposes the truth. The final confession.
When separated and confronted with this absolute mountain of irrefutable digital and forensic evidence, the CDRs, the tower pings, the CCTV, the facade completely crumbled. Both Sia and Chetan broke down, confessed to the entire conspiracy, and were arrested on June 23, 2026. That's just 5 days after the murder. They showed this chilling lack of human empathy, treating a person's life as just some obstacle to their convenience. They really thought they could use the rugged, dangerous terrain of a 3,300-foot fort to mask a murder as an act of nature. But in the end, they were defeated by cold, hard data. Every call, every cell tower ping, every bypass ticket left a breadcrumb. Which really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. In an era where our digital footprints capture our every move, our secrets, and our locations, is the concept of a perfect crime completely extinct? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.